So this week on toDIYfor, I have got this incredible pendant light that I made for $15. I forgot to put this on. Oh my gosh. Hey, I'm Janelle and this is toDIYfor. If you're new to my channel, welcome, and I really do hope that you subscribe. I do new DIYs every single Wednesday and I definitely really try to keep things on a budget. Obviously, $15 pendant light, bang on, and the place that I got inspiration for was actually from this photo. So this is an account that I follow on Instagram for linen, and I totally fell in love with this pendant light and I thought I need to make it. I couldn't find it anywhere online, so I have no idea what it cost, but I guarantee you it was more than 15 bucks. I'm thinking easily along the lines of $100 or more. And yeah, I'm so thrilled with how it turned out. I love it in my space, and all I had to do was burn myself like quite a few times with a hot glue gun. Totally worth it. Let's just get into the DIY.
Okay, so I started, of course, at the thrift store and I looked for a lampshade. Now, when you're doing this, you need a lampshade that has wire pieces between the top circle and the bottom circle. A lot of them actually don't, so when you take off this material, all you're left with is two separated rings. We need this to be a sturdy structure, and honestly, when I found this one, I was ecstatic because it just has the perfect shape to replicate this pendant light. It was about $5 once I had it all ripped apart with an X-Acto knife and tore off all the material. I quickly gave it a quick spray paint with some gold because it kind of matches this tone of the raffia. So raffia, if you've never used it before, is kind of like a thin rolled paper that turns into like a fairly strong string rope. I don't really know what I would call it. It's raffia. So you can split it open and make it flat. So I did that while I wrapped the top and the bottom ring to cover up the metal. I used a little hot glue along the way to keep it in place, and I didn't do this to the strands in the center simply because I figured the design is going to help hide those metal bars. So what I started with is basically I used each of those bars for my spacers to see how far I wanted to make this diagonal. So I started at the point of one bar and I went across two and I attached it to the third one on the bottom, if that makes sense. I went and I did that around the entire top, connecting it to the bottom, and then I went back and I started filling in those gaps. I found that that was just the best way for me to be able to evenly space out each one of these raffia strands, and all I'm doing is hot glue at the top, hot glue at the bottom, and I'm going to leave a long tail on the end when I cut the raffia strand. So this is a pretty tedious process, and I would suggest doing all in one direction first and filling it in as much as you want. And then I went back and I did the opposite direction. And again, I did, I think it was around around 6 or 8 to start, and then I went back and I started filling in those gaps. And as you can see, this is why I burned my hand with the hot glue so many times. So it's really quite concentrated at the top, fairly open still here at the bottom. I decided to add some raffia around the entire piece in circles here as I'm doing, simply just hot gluing the raffia to the raffia every couple of strands, not every single one. I don't think that's necessary. And I did these about an inch spaced apart. And so I did end up actually going back and filling in more diagonal pieces in between every single piece there. So I just wanted it to be filled out a little bit more. This is totally up to you, but as you can see, it takes a little while. But here is what it looked like when I was completed. Really happy with this. Still more concentrated at the top, but more filled in at the bottom now that I went back. So here's how we're gonna hang it. This is a pendant light that I got from IKEA, so very cheap, but it specifically is one of the ones that goes right into the ceiling connected to your direct hydro. And that is because that little tiny hole is really the only way that I could think of to hang this, and the wire fits through here perfectly. If you've got a pendant light that plugs plugs into an outlet, of course you're going to have a big plug on the end, and that just simply doesn't work. These are really easy to plug in though. I've done it a couple of times. I think the biggest thing is obviously turn off the breaker for that light. You don't want to get electrocuted. You're attaching the white to the white wire, the black to the black wire, screw it back in. This little cup here hides all of the wiring. Really simple, just cut the power before you do anything. After that, I gave my little pendant light a haircut, and I think that was the best way to trim off the length because I didn't know how long to make it. But that is it. Let me know what you think of this pendant light because I absolutely love it.